What's up, everybody? Well, today I'm here to bring you another vacuum to the channel, and this is going to be another installment series on the project FrankenHoover, where I take and reconstruct various Hoover Elites and make one working vacuum, more so to test my creativity and just have a little fun. But here I bring something a little bit different. Kind of similar to when I did one on the Hoover Elite 350, the one with the white hood and white outer bag. Of course, that was my actual U4717-930 before I found its matching burgundy outer bag, like it normally would have had. The white bag would have made it a U4461. I initially contemplated on making that into a FrankenHoover series, but decided, yeah, you know what, why not? It's not an official model, even though it's a replica, which initially warded me away from grouping it in this series. But then again, it's not an official Elite, so yeah, let's just put in the FrankenHoover series. This is another one of those vacuums. It's a replica based on an actual model, but it's not an official Elite that joined my collection. What I have for your pleasure today is the replica of the Hoover Elite Energy Efficient model U4717-930. The Elite soft bag Elite with the T-shaped hood and this beautiful powder blue color, which is possibly one of my favorite colors in the Elite lineup. I got essentially my Hoover Encore Supreme. That's a hard bag in this same color. I got a Runabout that's in this color. That's a soft bag version, but it has the slide top outer bag. It's just my favorite color for the Elite. So now let's go ahead and give a walkthrough of the cleaner. As you can see, yes, this is a black body Elite, so it is meant to be a later one. But however, I should preface this by saying, yes, it does have a black body construction, but you will notice it has white attachments and a gray cord. That's because I modeled this to be a 94 model. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of the Elite lineup, when they started to go through substantial changes in the early 90s until they hit their steady run all the way up until like 2000s, I think that started after mid-94, when they were slowly in transition from the gray body to the black body. This was meant to be one of those transitional models. And to my knowledge, the U4717 only came with a black body. There was another variant of this called the U4715, which was the same powder blue color, but those had a gray body. And obviously gray attachments and gray cord. Some super early models probably had a white cord. But the U4717 has a black body with some of the white and gray accessories and cord. Although later versions would switch to black attachments and a black cord, but early 94 models would have gray cord and white attachments, which I think looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing. Kind of gives it a more vintage touch to it. But enough of my rambling about the model history. Let's go ahead and give a walkthrough of the cleaner. As you can see, this one has your typical standard handle grip cover. It doesn't have that handle cover, which, while they were in transition to the black body, if they were to come in a handle cover, it wouldn't be tan yet. It would just be black. Essentially a leftover from the gray body models that they just threw on black models, and it did blend in because of the unfortunate color similarity, but I still liked it because it gave it a more deluxe feel. But This is all right either way. I just feel a little bit more comfortable since I got a larger hand. And as we move along down here, you have your nice Hoover lettering front and center. And you have your energy efficient labeling right down here. And you have this nice cross stitch pattern on the outer bag, which really gives it a nice touch of detail. And now let's go ahead and turn this thing to its side to show you the inner bag. It is accessed through this little zipper on the side. Just unzip that. And here is your inner bag. It's your typical Hoover Type A bag. This example is currently running a HEPA cloth bag for increased filtration, which definitely goes a long way. Because back then when these were out, the genuine A bags, although they were decent filtration of the time, are now a tad bit outdated in filtration today. So, if any of you who own one of these old Elite style machines, you should definitely upgrade to HEPA cloth bags. Even if you find just Hoover Y bags, which are a little bit smaller in HEPA cloth configuration, go get it. You'll definitely increase filtration, but I suggest do the extra research to find HEPA cloth bags. You will definitely thank yourself in the end. So as you move along down here, this does have this nice T-shaped hood design, which I honestly like a little bit better than the square hood design, because in my opinion this T-shaped hood just gives it a little bit more character than the more sleeker and straight square hood design. Even though this was meant to be for lower end models, and some probably would not have came with a headlight, unlike all of the square hood models, which to my knowledge all came with a headlight, I just still like the shape and design of the T-shaped hood. You don't see as much compared to the square hoods, which are like literally all over the place. But anyway, typical Elite fare, you do have your 4-position carpet height adjustment. And you do have your little door right here on the side for cleaning tools. And also you do have your Hoover lettering right over here on the side. Brushed edge cleaning on both sides, and it uses only 7 amps. At least the hood I got it off. The U4717 would say it's 7.2 amps, which honestly is a little bit no different than the actual 7 amps flat that some models would have drawn, but what ultimately I think makes the 0.2 amperage draw would be the brush roll. And this one has the cleaning effectiveness rated at 15.5, which I do not understand what kind of metric this is, but my only correlation is purchasing price and features, which Hoover gave them higher cleaning effectiveness per amps to make higher end models look prettier on the shelf and appealing to customers while giving them a larger price tag. So let's tip this thing on back. Here is the brush roll that's in this. This is the genuine Hoover dual row brush roll, but as you can see, it has full length bristles all the way across, and the bristles are super stiff. They're just fantastic. You get excellent carpet agitation, and it grooms amazing, and it's just overall fantastic brush roll. Really stood the test of time. And also another thing to point out is this bottom base plate, which was more a thing on deluxe Hoovers back then. They had these 4 wires instead of the 3 plastic wires. Well, they're not necessarily wires. They're basically integrated as part of the sole plate to prevent you from sucking up something big, like a towel or a sock. which this does pretty good. And definitely with this base plate, it leaves much better carpet lines than the 3-bar plastic one. So now as we go and flip this thing on its back to show you the model number. This particular example is the donor motor to build this one was a U4717-930, and that's at 120 volts, 60 hertz, 7 amps, and has a serial of 04000. If any of you knows how to serial date these Hoovers, the first 2 digits decode the month, and third and fourth decodes the year. So 04000 would mean this vacuum was manufactured in April of 2000. Yep, you heard me right. 2000. These Elites ran all the way up until 2003, until they were ultimately discontinued for home use. They were still around for commercial use back then, but that wouldn't be until 2012, even after TTI took over and just completely killed off production, and later parts support started to die almost shortly after. But as you see, the bag is belt type. The bag is a type A, and the belt is 38528-027. Hoover now uses a 38528-040, which a little bit different of a belt, but pretty much the same style that will fit this. It's a little bit thicker of a belt, so it'll last a little bit longer than the 027 belts. So anyway, back here you have all of your attachments. You have your upholstery tool, crevice tool, and your dusting brush. And you have your extension wand right here. Your hose is mounted on the side here. This is the plastic hose, the lower end plastic hose, but it is side mounted instead of the lower end style that would wrap around the front of the cleaner. That's what the one that I like to refer to as the wraparound hose. This is the side mount hose. Higher end models would have had a flexible hose if it were any higher than this. But for now, let's go ahead and release the cord, which not really the longest by any means. I think it's probably at least about a good 30 feet in length, which is decent. But now let's go ahead and plug this guy in. And we will go ahead and turn this thing on and give you a demo. And here is the power switch. It is essentially a plastic rod that runs down into where a main rocker switch is in the valley of the motor. And if you look very closely, and I know it's kind of hard to see on this side, but over here you can see the detail for the indent of the power switch, which this was only on select model Elites depending on the year, but you could see that there is an indent 0 and 1, another version of on and off, but you also see there's a little off that points downward, so obviously you have to turn the switch down to turn it off, which some have argued that the orientation of this power switch is backwards, particularly for models that have a handle mounted switch, which for them, they're usually used to down being on and up is off for fingertip, that you could just flick with your thumb and turn it on, pull it back to turn it off. In my opinion, I think those are backwards, because like say the power switch in your house, up, and currently the light is on. If you were to press it down, the light would turn off. Push it back up, it's back on. Case in point, the power switch on these Elites. Up would be on and down would be off. I just think it matches the orientation like the light switch in your house. So, enough of my yammering for the past 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and give this thing a run. typical Elite fashion, it's pretty noisy when it's running, so headphone users or those with sensitive hearing, please turn down your volume. And away we go. runs very nice and smooth. Definitely a joy to use, despite its noise. And before we end the video, let's go ahead and demonstrate this in its tool mode by going ahead and release the hose fully. Just flip up this little attachment door here, and the hose will just slide down in like that. Now, because this vacuum is direct air, it is known to produce more suction than airflow, so don't expect miracle suction power from the hose. But it's actually pretty half decent for what it is. You can definitely hear a lot of suction leakage, which is typical as years go by and they lose their seal. So let's go and reattach this back on the rack. And there we go. Well, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Hoover Elite, another installment of the Project FrankenHoover series. Be sure and stay tuned, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.